I want to transition now to the NFL and the Patriots, because I feel like we haven't talked about the Patriots in a long time. Justifiably so. Tom Brady's not there, so why are we really going to talk about them? And apparently, they are attempting to trade for their former quarterback, not Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, in real estate, if you bought a property in 2010 for $1 million, the longer you hold on to that property, the more it's going to appreciate. So if you bought a building for $1 million in 2010 and you sold it in 2013, you'd likely be able to sell it for $1.5 million, because the longer you hold on to an asset, the more it's going to appreciate. So you're netting a $500,000 profit because you'd be selling the building for more than what you originally bought it. Now, if you go back to that person that you sold the building to 4 years later in 2017 and attempt to repurchase that building, you'll likely have to pay more than what you sold it for, because now the seller is going to say, well, the building has been in my possession for an additional 4 years. Now I'm valuing it at $2 million because it's appreciated over time. So now, in order for you to buy back the building that you once had, you're going to have to pay twice as much, likely. You bought it for $1 million, sold it for 1.5. Now you're having to buy it again for $2 million to retain an asset that you once had. And this is the situation with New England. And this is why Bill Belichick is writhing in his bed at night, because he's come to the realization we've got no quarterback. And in order to land Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm going to, who they drafted in the second round of the 2014 draft, they're going to have to trade not only their first round draft pick, which is a 15th overall pick this year, they'll likely have to give up also their second round draft pick this year. And they might even have to throw in a guy like Stephon Gilmore to sweeten the deal. So you're going to have to pay more for what you initially drafted Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, the question is San Francisco done with Jimmy Garoppolo? Now, we know that Kyle Shanahan has kind of been equivocal when it comes to Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't know if he's entirely sold and committed to him, as evidenced by just the 8 pass attempts in the 2019 NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers against Aaron Rodgers. He literally, Jimmy G, threw 8 passes in a 37-20 win. The Super Bowl, the only reason why he was thrust in the position to have to throw was because they were trailing and they weren't able to run the ball that effectively. And he missed Emmanuel Sanders for that touchdown pass, which likely would have won the 49ers the Super Bowl. So we know that the 49ers aren't entirely sold on Jimmy G, but the reality is they're 22-8 with him as a starter, and they're 7-27 with anyone else under center. But what we do know is that Bill Belichick loves Jimmy Garoppolo. And what we do know is that Bill Belichick was wanting to trade away Tom Brady 4 years ago because he thought he was washed up, and insert Jimmy Garoppolo into the starting lineup. That's what we do know. And at the time, Garoppolo was 13-3 as a starter in New England. 13-3 as a starter in New England, and he was 6-0 in the first half of the 2016 season as the starter when Tom Brady was serving his suspension for Deflategate. That's what we do know. And so the interesting thing is that Bill Belichick has always been, and he's always wanted, a system quarterback who's accurate, who is available, and who isn't going to turn the ball over. And for all the questions about Cam's durability, he still completed over 65% of his passes, accounted for 12 rushing touchdowns, actually had a really good season, and helped guide the Patriots to a 7-9 year and 7-9 record with close losses to The Seattle Seahawks on the road that they easily could have won. They had the ball at the 2-yard line of Seattle with a chance to win it. Cam Newton got stuffed. And then against the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, they nearly won that with Cam Newton. And Cam Newton is a much more durable and mobile quarterback than Jimmy Garoppolo. And when you look at Jimmy G, there's no question that he's accurate. Excuse me. He's accurate. He's completed 67.5% of his passes for his career. But he's also extremely turnover prone because over the last 2 seasons, he's had the 3rd highest interception rate in the NFL over the last 2 seasons, and they've been on shorter pass attempts. These aren't deep pass attempts. These are on short pass attempts. That's the reality with Jimmy G. And then the obvious question and question mark surrounds his health, because he's only managed to make it through an entire season healthy one time. In his 4 seasons with the San Francisco 49ers, tore his ACL, has been sidelined with high ankle injuries. He only played intermittently in 6 games last year for the 49ers, but their record is so staggeringly better than it is without him. And so if you're Bill Belichick, to me, I understand he likes Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't necessarily know if that's a huge upgrade to a guy who is more turnover prone and less mobile and less durable than Cam Newton. Not to mention, you might have to give away any of your wide receivers just to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, I know there are some rumblings about potentially they'll have enough cap space to go after Allen Robinson if the Bears decide to tag him, but I'm just not entirely convinced that this is necessarily the best place for him to go. And it's just interesting because life comes at you full circle sometimes. And in the case of the New England Patriots, sometimes it comes at twice the cost.